Hi guys, this is John Adamson, the Readmin Documentation Guru, taking a third attempt at making this video because I kept getting interrupted. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is compliance. I just saw a patient that has some compliance related issues, and I'm going to have to basically set him up for discharge. And let's face it, non-compliance is a significant issue we face with our patients. It's not something you generally want to document. And so I want to talk about dealing with compliance with the mentally and or psychologically competent patient. Those patients that you can have rational discussions with and come to a collaborative model of care with them. So I use this analogy in my course, and I think you might find it helpful to help you figure out how do we approach this. So let's say you have a patient named Joan. Joan is an executive for a company. She sits at a computer most of her day, 10, 12 hours a day sometimes. And because of that, she's developed back pain. And her back pain is limiting her in functions in her life. And your evaluation reveals the underlying impairments that are causing the back pain, because we don't just treat pain. And so anyway, Joan comes in last visit and says, "I'm really sore." And you decide to be nice to her, and you just give her some ultrasound and massage that day. And the next day, Joan comes in for her next treatment, and she goes, "You know what? That ultrasound and massage felt really good. Can't we just do that?" And this is the setup for non-compliance. We have patients that at some point sometimes decide, I don't want to do certain things, and that has significant impact to Medicare's definition of medical necessity, which you might remember is care that is of such complexity that only you could safely and effectively do it. So anyway, I'm going to talk you through a scenario, and then I'm going to give you an analogy. So with Joan, I'm going to say to her the following. Joan, when you came in for your functional deficits caused by your back pain, I evaluated you and I found underlying impairments that were causing your back pain. You and I set goals together, and I told you the treatments that would be efficacious to address those goals. But what you're telling me right now, Joan, which is you're right, is that you don't want to do the original plan of care. So let me tell you what your options are today, and you can tell me which option you like best. First option is, starting today, we must do the original plan of care, because otherwise there's no reasonable expectation that we will achieve the outcomes that you desire. Also, if you aren't able to participate in the whole of my care plan, then I'm not demonstrating the necessity of my skill. So option one is we do, starting today, everything that we originally set out to do. Option two, I can revise your plan of care, but Joan, there's some things you need to understand about that. Number one is that I'll have to get the doctor's approval to revise your plan of care. Two, I'll need to get your insurance company's approval, I'm assuming she's managed care, to revise your plan of care, which might mean a delay in services. Number three, we won't hit your same desirable goals, so we won't be as effective, and therefore it's not going to be reasonable to keep you on caseload very long at all. So that is option number two, I revise your plan of care. Option number three is I can discharge you today. Which of those three options sounds best to you? Now, you might have noticed some key terms I mentioned. One was I allowed her to exercise the right to refuse, which meant I gave her informed consent. So I informed her what her options were. I gave her the right to refuse or to consent to those options, and that's it. And the reason I say that those are the three options is because we can't just keep on doing what the patient wants exactly. And this is the analogy. I ask people at my course, who is the captain of the patient's healthcare ship? And usually people get it wrong. Usually they'll say the patient is the captain. And my analogy is that, no, the patient is the owner of the ship. You're the captain. And I use the example of the movie Titanic, which you might remember. In the movie Titanic, there was the captain and the owner were sitting at a dining room table, and the owner says to the captain, "Captain, I want all engines on full steam I want to get to New York early to show the world what this ship is capable of. And the captain says to the owner, well, sir, we've not tested all these engines at full capacity. We're on time, and we'll get there fine. And the owner says, nope, you're going to put all those engines on full steam ahead, and we'll show the world what this awesome ship is capable of. And of course, the rest is history, because the captain, who is an experienced captain, I think he had some like 30 years of experience navigating the Northern Atlantic, he knew what was the most safe and effective ways to get across that Northern Atlantic during the time of year when icebergs could be floating around. And I don't know if he knew this or not, but the Titanic unfortunately had too small a rudder to handle its girth at full speed. In other words, at full speed, if something came up on the horizon, the Titanic was just too big to navigate around it safely and effectively. And so had the captain, with his experience and knowledge and expertise, complexity of knowledge, been captaining the ship, then they would have made it safely to New York, and there'd be no $2 billion grossing movie called Titanic. However, the captain capitulated to the owner, who had made a really bad decision, and of course cost the lives of many hundreds of people in the process. So what will happen if you allow your patient to just pick and choose what they will do? When you know it's not clinically the most efficacious route, they will crash their healthcare ship. You present them with, based on the complexity of your knowledge, the most safe and effective routes, and those are the only options. And if they choose to do none of the above, they have chosen the discharge route. And that's what you do. And that's how you deal with non-compliance in a competent, cognitive patient. Anyway, hope that you found that helpful. This is John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru, helping you get paid for what you do and dealing with non-compliance. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Take care.